Okay, let's bring you up to date on the breaking news at 38th in Chicago in Minneapolis. What's become known as George Floyd Square. We have a live picture from Chopper 4 right now, Sky 4 overhead, as we take a look at what will be the new look of 38th in Chicago. Starting early this morning, city workers from Public Works Department came out to clean the streets, to protect some of the memorabilia, some of the tributes to George Floyd's life. The intersection with Cup Foods, has become a somber place, but also a place where neighbors and community members have complained of an increase in crime. And this morning, the process is underway of reopening it. Christiane Cordero is there live with a look at what is going on right from that intersection. Christiane.
Well, Jason, this has been in the works for some time now, right? There have been conversations about reopening this intersection to traffic. And what we saw early this morning was a manifestation of that promise. There was never going to be an easy way to do it. A lot of people coming out with their raw emotions, really of various different types. But what we can tell you as far as what has happened this morning is Agape Movement, which is a community nonprofit, they have essentially been leading the way in trying to change the narrative over what exactly is happening and making sure that people understand that they want to memorialize, they want to preserve, but they also want to make it a functioning city street again. And so they have been speaking with community members. At times it certainly has been much more than speaking in the sense of confrontation, of arguments, of heated emotions. But then also you have Public Works here doing a lot of the actual the moving, the lifting, the creating of different spaces, and the protecting as well. There are barriers blocked off in 2 blocks in each direction. Outside of those barriers, as Jason mentioned, are people who have been so personally impacted by the volatility of what this neighborhood has experienced over the past year plus. We spoke with one woman who lives just a couple blocks away from George Floyd Square.
You don't want to deal with gun violence, but to sit there and say that a closed off street is what's causing gun violence is absolutely ignorant at best. Now that this is gone, I don't want everything to go back to status quo, especially with, the anniversary over, the first trial over. Like, I don't want my kids to feel like I feel.
She has 3 kids, small children, and she says that she has seen some of the beauty that hasn't been widely publicized. That includes, food donations, clothing donations, and the intangible sense of what this square represents as this movement has rippled really around the world, Jason. So there are a lot of pieces, right, to put together here. I would imagine that the emotions this intersection will change several times throughout the day today, but that's what we know this morning as far as the movement happening here and how people feel about it.
Christiane, I just talked to a city spokesperson about 10 minutes ago who said that, there has been a long process of community engagement. Basically, they put out a number of different redesigns. From the city perspective, I think leaving this intersection closed permanently was not a viable option because there are a lot of businesses that are located in that corridor, and there are safety concerns about, are you going to route ambulances that might be going to other things in that general area, or police all around it. Still some questions as to, the other thing about this is that we haven't seen anyone really wanting to take responsibility from a political standpoint and saying, yep, this was my idea, or I signed off. It seems like it's a sort of squishy, like, well, it was community led and we're supporting that, but obviously the mayor had to sign off, you would think, right?
Right. It's easy enough to comment of that wraps everything up as far as each side of the narrative goes, but what seems to be lacking is productive conversation, because I can tell you, based on, granted, one that I've had, but from somebody who's very connected with what exactly is happening here, she does not feel like the community was included in this. It is very much they can agree on is that this can reopen as a functioning street while still having it be a place of reflection, but there were certain things that were not met in order to make the community members feel like they are heard and that systemic things will change, because that is so much of what this represents.
There was a long list of demands that some in the community have put
That's right.
forward, and those things have not been met. We'll hear more about that for sure today. Agape is going to have a news conference this morning in the city this afternoon, so we'll hear more from many people involved throughout the day. Christiane, thanks for being with us.